This is Jason Christoff, Podcast 4, How to Survive the COVID Lockdown. So you want to stay healthy, and a lot of people are doing healthy countdowns because really they don't have the balls to say what really needs to be said. So the people that don't have a backbone are doing like health reviews and stuff. I'm going to do a little bit of a health review just because I heard a story on Truth Stream Media of a lady at Costco who sneezed simply because some other lady cut in front of her in line and had a big waft of perfume go up her nose. We all been there and done that. And the lady sneezed and everybody dropped what they were doing and looked over at her. She thought she was going to be the recipient of mob violence, and even one lady actually dropped the can of beans she was carrying to the cash. Those are zombies, folks. They can't think. They only react. Humans in fear. They're highly illogical, and that's why you should defend yourself. That's point number 12. We're not going to go there right away. Let's start with point number 1, sunlight. Make sure to stay healthy by getting the sunlight in the northern hemisphere. You're definitely having the sun's rays starting to upregulate right now. As Dr. Jack Cruz clearly explains in a lot of his videos, it is crucial to get the sunlight into your eyes to synchronize all your organ systems so that you're running at optimal health. I haven't been sick in a long time. And I'll tell you what really makes you sick is booze. Like if you're drinking right now, you're going to be in trouble. And a lot of people don't understand that the average sickness that they're used to is not going to be looked on fondly by the zombie hordes that are out there. If you're sick, there's going to be a whole lot of social pressure coming your way, and it could literally bankrupt you and put you in the house beyond the lockdown. Or, I mean, God knows where this can go if someone's sick. And I think the sick are being targeted here. If someone's chronically ill, I mean, people are going to really distance themselves from them. There could be a whole bunch of future ramifications. Be healthy. You're going to be a lot safer in this situation. Make sure if you are feeling a little sick, of course, the best thing for you is vitamin C, which is basically a vitamin that's almost like liquid sunlight. And I mean, we're light beings. I've said that a lot before in the previous podcast. The only way we survive is through sunlight. We're not really taught this, but oranges and citrus are like, somehow it appears to be that the, lemons, limes, and oranges seem to capture sunlight at a lot greater intensity than any other sort of produce. So make sure you're getting some freshly squeezed orange juice, or fresh, put some lemon in there, put some lime, and then limes last, and limes and lemons last a lot longer than oranges. So make sure you have some lemons and limes in the fridge as well. They could take, maybe 4 weeks, even 5 weeks down the road. Make sure you're getting proper sleep. You got to go to bed when the sun goes down. You get up when the sun comes up. Do not watch TV before you go to bed. That your body will believe that the light from the TV is the sunlight, and then it gets your get up and go system activated. You screw up your circadian rhythms, and of course your immune system will drop. Get out and exercise. It's a perfect time. It was sunny here today. I was exercising outside barefoot on my brick patio, making sure that I was exchanging proper energy with the stone and the sun, and I was drinking lots of clean glass bottled spring water when I was out there. And I'm doing exercises now that are more toning my body for self-defense, and not that I think I'm going to have to fight, but the zombies, when you tell the truth and they're in fight or flight mode and their limbic brain is on and the reptilian brain, or what's called the R complex, is on, they're very prone to violence and illogical behavior, and they like to mark everybody's the enemy but themselves. So, for their shitty lives, and they're sick and they got no money, and they look at the people that are healthy and prepared, and of course it's never them, it's always you. So sometimes they're quick to violence, and I'm no stranger to violence. So I just like my body prepared for, the average moron on the street. And that it's like anything else. I've been sort of doing this my whole life. You only have to fight 1 or 2 or 3 times in your life, but I'll tell you one thing. When that day comes, you'll be happier prepared. So it's not something, you're going to go out and bully people, but just get ready. Do some boxing, do some shadow boxing, kick a bag, kick the wall, kick the brick wall, whatever you have to do to strengthen up those muscles. Just start doing that instead of lifting weights to look good, because in this day and age that we're going into, I believe that's going to be probably a pretty good skill to have. And for work, make sure, if you got some online coaching dreams, this is the time and the place to do it. You can become a self-sabotage coach with me. You could maybe become a hypnotherapist with Marissa Peer. You could become a holistic lifestyle coach or an exercise coach with Paul Chek. You could sell stuff for Young Living. You can do a lot of things, and you might have to start doing a lot of things online. And the more the more you lean into that area, it's probably a pretty good bet that in the future there's going to be more opportunity to meet people online rather than one-on-one or in a group. And we all know why they're doing that, folks. They don't want anybody bonding. So they want a really loveless and dark society, because it's a dark and evil entity that's behind this. It's not even people. It's a dark an evil force that can infect people of low nutrition, people that stay out of the sunlight. They're kind of like a vampirism infection, if you will. This was talked about openly in our ancient world. Now with the science, where you can, if it can't be measured, it's not worth it. We've lost our ability to think about the invisible. There's an invisible force out there. It's dark, and it's infected a lot of the humans. And these humans are, if it was the last person on earth, a human would probably blow their own head off, and whatever dark vaporous infection that they would have would just, slough off them into the ether. Because I don't believe this is a human problem whatsoever. I think all humans have the ability to be good or evil, to channel good or channel evil. And the more malnourished they are, and the more poison they are, and the more in fear they are, and the more toxic they are, kind of like their original good soul goes out on a tether or leaves altogether, and it kind of leaves this sort of meat spacesuit open for some sort of hijack. And I can sort of tell who's being hijacked. They're just very dark and evil entities driving these human bodies around. You just got to be on the lookout for those. And what do you really got to do to survive out there? I was talking to a lady in Tucson, Arizona. I think the next 4 weeks you're going to know exactly where this is going to go. It'll probably cycle down. They'll get the fear they want. And this entity is very ancient. It likes to feed. This is the time of sacrifice for this ancient entity. It upregulates in March. I mean, the Skull and Bones fraternity, where a lot of the elite brotherhood and very evil souls hang out. They have a crest of the skull and crossbone, and across the skull and crossbone is the word, the numbers 322, stands for March 22nd, which is actually today. And they kind of vow to the very dark part of the spiritual world. And this part of the season, when the sun crosses the equator, they call it the Passover. It's usually associated with a lot of animal and human sacrifice. So yeah, there are going to be a lot of sacrifice out there. Just make sure it's not you. Do not try and warn the sheep. Do not try and warn, or if they're going for their vaccines, or they're going to some FEMA camp because it sounds cozy. Just don't warn them. Just get out of their way. It's like a wolf, okay? You have to let the wolf feed on the sheep, especially during the Passover time. That's what Passover is, folks. This entity comes door to door, and it says it needs to feed on the blood of the children. And if you slit the throat of the sheep and wipe the blood over your threshold, then the entity goes down and keeps going down the doors and leaves your family alone. I suggest exactly the same. There's a lot of people out there do not know what's going on. They do not know that the vaccines are loaded with documented toxins. They're begging the government to lock them down. They're probably begging the government to do absolutely every atrocity to them with the promise to make them safe. Even when the Jewish culture was being herded onto the railway cars inside World War II, if you talk to some of the victims that survived, they will tell you that there was promises every inch of the way. There were promises, like even when they were getting on the railway cars, the German troops were saying, "Oh, don't worry, everything's going to be good. You're just going to go to the camp, and that's where you'll be safe. We got to protect you. It's for your own safety. Get you out of the German population and separate you," because a lot of them were getting beat up and accosted in the streets. So my advice for you, again, just if there are some uninformed people this time of year, this much power behind it, just let the wolf have its feeding and just step out of the way. Unfortunately, we've done everything we could to try and save these people and wake them up. Let the awakened folks are just going to step to the left, step to the right, and the sheep are just going to go to the abattoir. And we wish them well. And if they want to come back, they can come back as different souls. Maybe they'll be more awakened this time. If you have any spare cash, you might want to start bringing it above ground slowly but surely. It looks like there's going to be a little bit of an attack on cash, and there has been times in history when world governments have explained that the population is free to bring in all their black market cash. Italy did that once, and they couldn't believe how much cash came into the banks. It was a promise. No matter how much was brought in, there would be no investigation, and you can imagine what happened in Italy. I'm not too sure if the forces that be will be that gracious this time, but if you have $20 or $30 or $40,000 hidden somewhere in your house, you might want to start bringing that above ground and make some plans that way. You're going to be spending anyway. You might want to spend that. You wouldn't want to be having any cash at home when the government says, well, you only got 3 days, and then after that it's not going to be accepted anymore. You certainly don't want to have that. You can get some, if you don't have access to high quality organic food, you might want to start getting some powders. And there's many good. I work. There's a company I use called ATP that has a good green powder. I know Organifi, but I think his name's Drew Carroll. Paul Check endorses his green powders and his red powders quite a bit. I use a lot of vitamins from Innate Response and Mega Food, especially the vitamin D this time of year. You could definitely start getting some high quality vitamins as backup if your food source kind of goes down. And if you're going to the grocery store, kind of load up on the organic rice, the frozen grass-fed beef, and any sort of, organic brown rice pasta, not from China. That's no knock against China. It's just kind of poor quality that comes from there anyway. And try to get like a good amount of nuts and coconut oil and cashew butter, things that are going to last longer. And because I've heard some rumors of rationing going around. Even in Australia, Max Eigen was reporting today that there is a little bit of food shortage, but the government there, and of course the government in Australia is the top level NWO Tavistock Institute government that abuses their population more than any government on the planet at the moment. And it was the government that was stopping the trucks because, they didn't want too many on the road. Yeah, great government, right? And the quicker we sort of remove these criminals and put pressure on them and out them, it's going to be better for everybody. If anybody's out there and thinks the government is doing these things for our health or for our safety, no offense, but you really have to have cream cheese for a brain on that one. There is no benefit to anybody whatsoever with any action that the government is taking other than to extract power, rights, and liberties from the public, because the public are starting to find out they don't need the government. That's what the public's starting to find out. The government, who are staffed by basically in the higher ranks of people that could never make a living other than in government, knows that we don't need them anymore. We actually have no need for them whatsoever. Everything they touch turns to shit. And that's actually their MO, their method of operation, because that's how they maintain power. They purposely throw the public down the evolutionary ladder and then build, it's like throwing someone down a mountainside and building a hospital at the base of the mountain and say, thank God for us, we have the hospital there after you fell that way, and the government actually pushes you down the mountain. We don't need any more of that. We can definitely grow up into our full adulthood, and we don't need these psychopathic children ruling over us anymore. I would definitely get armed up as well. If you don't, a lot of people say in their countries they're not allowed, they're not allowed guns. Well, get a rifle, get a shotgun. I don't care where you live. You can still get a rifle and a shotgun. Yeah, and it might take a while. And it's not about going out and shooting people or, going toe to toe with the military. If there's a food shortage, or power shortage, or firewood shortage, and you're the one that stocked firewood and fuel and food, well, guess where those zombies are coming? They're coming to your house because they know you're the kind of guy that gets prepared. And, a couple shotgun blasts over their head will keep them running because, they don't have any guns because they're too stupid to prepare themselves properly. So they're just coming with bats or golf clubs. So, couple well-placed rounds over their head will definitely take care of them. Don't worry about that. As for stock market advice, I would say if you're in the stock market, I really think it's going to go down a lot farther, and it might panic down to the point where I saw, and if you want to judge what's going on with the agendas, you just watch for a couple trickles of nonsense talk, and if that nonsense talk gets a couple more media outlets and gets some more airtime, you can be sure that that's probably coming as the next thing. And I saw some moronic articles on the CBC, because that's how they prime everybody that this is going to be really smart. They said maybe we should shut the stock market down. Now, if they shut the stock market down and you have anything in there to sell, you won't be able to get your cash out. That would be imagine that for the people that are organizing that you can't defend yourself with the cash that you saved up so much. And even if you have something like bonds, if you don't really have cash, if they can't give you cash back and they shut the stock market down, you can't sell anything. Make sure you have a big portfolio of cash, and I wouldn't even put it in a low yield bond. Who cares? You're gonna make 1%, and then if they close the stock market, you can't even get at it because that's you'd have to sell the bond inside the stock market. Forget about it. Make sure you have a big load of liquid cash ready to go, because of course the people who rule us, these psychopathic children that only want more and more for them and none for you, they know. It's like the movie Gladiator when Commodus stuck Maximus with the shank before the big fight. They never fight fair. They know that the fight's coming and they're going to give you the old shank in the lung, like Commodus gave Maximus in the movie Gladiator, and that's the government giving you the shank. And if you don't have money or you don't have food and they can ration your gas, and then they think, oh, they have to weaken us to win. That's how pathetic they are. And like I said, psychopathic children, we could all do without them. And stop adoring your captors, people. Stop falling in love with your abuser. And especially the men, please. I've seen more men falling and swooning over their corrupt politicians than the female. And our human farmers have been working on that quite a long time as well, to make the males feminized and really give a lot of positive reinforcement and celebration and adoration to the glamorized beta male who forgets who they are. And as men, we're supposed to be a little stronger. You wouldn't know that today. Most of the men are super compliant, really want to suck hard on the tit of government, and they think they're the perfect citizen when really they're just a baby in the corner sucking their thumb. One last thing. Oh, if you're on the internet and you're spreading the word, I would use like well-placed articles, or very rock solid sort of articles or clips or pictures or memes that maybe ask one or two questions. Don't engage in fighting with the zombies when their limbic system, when their fight or flight system is on, and they're just going to fly into a rage and everything's your fault, and their sickness is your fault, their kid, whatever's wrong with them, that's your fault because you don't vaccinate. Just try to tone down the adversarial vibration of your posts and try to educate. And if someone gets on there and just starts going off on you like a troll, just delete them. Just, what do you ban them, or what do you call it? Remove them, whatever, permanently remove them. Anyway, that's your top 12 sort of hints, things that I'm going to be doing as well. And I hope you benefited from them a little bit. This is Jason Christoff, Podcast 4. Thank you for listening.